Kristen and Mel, you want to say some test?
Test.
Can you hear me?
Not real loud.
Does this help?
Wasn't like,
Yeah,
Can you-
try that.
can you hear me?
Is that better, John?
Can anybody hear me?
A little bit better.
I guess.
Alderman Carper, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Annette can.
Okay.
Yeah, Gail can too.
Okay, super.
Hi, Gail.
Hi, Annette.
Hi, Carper Square.
We're all expecting new jewelry after this is done, you know.
Oh, my basement is full.
I bet it is.
Okay, we're going to call the public hearing to order. So we have a public hearing scheduled for 5:15 this evening to discuss the Downstate Small Business Stabilization Program. We have the Community Development Coordinator, Mr. John Bannon, with us, and you should have a copy of the proposed information there in your packets. John?
Thank you, Mayor. So the program that we'll be discussing today is the Downstate Small Business Stabilization Program. It's being rolled out by the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity currently. And as we learn more, we wanted to do a public hearing
I
to...
can't hear that at all.
I can't hear him either.
We can't hear John.
John, you got to face this way.
It's breaking up, yeah.
We wanted to do a public hearing to make sure that City Council and the public were aware of the program, both of the potential opportunities it has as well as some of the limitations it does have. There's a webinar tomorrow on it that I'll be sitting in on, and so there will be more information that is coming out, but it's $25,000 per business maximum, and that's also a maximum limit of 60 days of working capital. DCO will determine that based on the business's January 2020 budget. It will require 3 full years of financials to be disclosed. That is all FOIable. The local government has to apply on behalf of the business. That's per terms of the grant. It's a community development block grant. So those are HUD regulations. It is limited to non-essential businesses and restaurants and bars only, so no essential businesses such as a grocery or hardware store. It must be the same ownership in the same location since January 2017. And the limitation that I wanted to make sure the council is aware of before we go further is that there is a participation agreement that the city and the business would enter into whereby if the business were to cease to exist, that is go bankrupt within 12 months, the city would potentially be liable for the grant award. So that is a liability or a potential liability for the city, but it is an opportunity for local small businesses. And so I wanted to have that public hearing to bring that to the awareness of council before we move forward. It's quite an involved process, so it would be a lengthy process for both businesses and staff. And so we wanted council knowledge and approval before we went further.
Okay, John, you bring up some good points. So you talked about this is a grant, and it's actually the city is the underwriter at the end of the day, with the understanding that there's this clawback provision should the awardee, the grantee business, fail to meet the criteria, which is maintain the number of employees for a period of 12 months after the award of the grant.
The retention of employees and to continue operating as a business for 12 months.
Okay, so the clawback provision is that, do we know if that would be, for example, they made it 6 months, would there be half the grant would be payable back, or do we know yet?
My understanding is it's 12 months, but they could also reopen after 12 months for a period of time, and that would justify it. It doesn't need to be 12 months concurrently, but they do need to be open in some form or fashion after that 12-month period.
Okay. Have you spoken with any of our local businesses that qualify? Is there some interest in the community?
There is interest. It remains to be seen once they see the paperwork involved, if their interest will remain or flag. But I've gotten several phone calls, and so that's why we're here today.
Okay, super. Does anyone from the council have any questions for John about the Downstate Small Business Stabilization Program?
Yes, I do.
Alderman Carper.
First of all, let me make a suggestion that if you're not talking on this meeting, that you mute yourself, because I can hear all kinds of movement noise, and it's really hard to hear what people are saying. And the question that I have is what you're saying that the city will have to pay back this money if the small business owner doesn't pay it back?
That is what the participation agreement says. As the ultimate originator of the funds, HUD can modify that, and I had a long conversation with someone from DCO today, and his opinion was that HUD may or may not change that, but he was unable to give me any concrete assurances as he couldn't speak for HUD.
So one thing that we would, what we've discussed at the staff level is that we have the balance of about $100,000 in our revolving loan fund that we could use as a backup to this, but that, we'd only be able to back up, potentially a maximum of 4 if they were all funded at the maximum amount. But it does seem like a reasonable risk based on the number of applications we might be able to facilitate.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the council?
Yes.
Alderman Moon.
Is there any collateral required, and who makes the decision on who gets these loans? Is there a committee, or how does, or do we just automatically award them? Grants, I guess I should say.
The Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity would award them, and they would award them through their normal community development block grant management process. They're under the economic development goal. It's urgent needs, so they have a very established process to evaluate the grants, and this would funnel through their normal process. We would not evaluate those locally; those would be done at the state level.
I just know under the PPP program, the bank you apply through the bank, and they're the ones that certify if they are comfortable with your ability to pay it back. And I just wondered is it the same guidelines, or what? How do we eliminate? I know they're high risk, but do we have any protection at all of the selection process?
I think it's quite an involved process, and the city would have to ultimately apply at the end of the day, and DCO requires a separate resolution for every application. So if there are multiple businesses that do want to apply, we'll be back before council for approval for each individual application.
So there'd be that local review of criteria being met or reasonableness of the risk.
Yeah, so there would be a staff evaluation level, and then there would be the council's ultimate approval or lack thereof.
Okay, I think that's a great point. Thank you. Anything else, Alderman Moon? Hearing none. Anyone else from the council have any questions or comments for the public hearing? Alrighty.
Just for informational purposes, I can't apply for one of these loans.
No. Any elected official or spouse of an elected official or staff involved in the process would not be able to apply for this.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Anyone else? Anyone from staff here? No? Scott, anything? All right. All right, and for the record, we had no one submit public input on this issue. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Correct.
And then we do have a member of the media that's online now. Patrick, do you have any questions or comments? All righty. Hearing none, we'll consider the public hearing closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to call the Macomb City Council to order, please. If you'd please join me here in the council chambers and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
Of America.
for which it stands, one nation,
Under
God,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If the clerk would call the roll, please.
Mike Wayland,
Here.
John Vajezi,
Here.
Annette Carper,
Here.
Tom Cook,
Here.
Gail Carper,
Here.
Tammy Lee Brown Edwards,
Here.
Dennis Moon,
Here.
all present.
We have a quorum, thank you. For the record, at the council chambers, we have the city attorney, the city clerk, the city administrator, myself, and Mr. Bannon, and 2 technicians from UTV, and we appreciate their assistance in facilitating this remote meeting today. I would like to give you an update of information, mainly for the public record. Much of this we've shared with you during correspondence.
Can't hardly hear you, Mike.
Okay. If we can we turn up the audio in here just a little
Breaking
bit?
up bad.
Okay. All right, is that a little better, Dennis?
A little bit louder, please.
Okay, here we go. I would remind you that the most of the information I'm about to share with you, we've corresponded with you in writing and provided you with it, but I'd like to update the public as we begin our meeting since we've not met for several weeks. I'd like to tell you that we've taken action here in city government to maximize employees working from home to the extent we can do that and remote. They're working remotely. It's a handful of our employees across several work units. We appreciate the members of our collective bargaining units who have worked very closely with the administration to modify work schedules and policy to maximize efficiency while employing social distancing guidelines to to minimize their possible exposure and possible exposure to the public from the virus. All of our employees are working in essential positions now. We have continue to keep in touch with our county partners on sometimes a multiple times a day basis, including McDonough District Hospital, Western Illinois University, the Emergency Services and Disasters folks, Macomb Schools, the McDonough County Health Department, as well as county government and other governmental units within the county. We also are keeping in contact most assuredly on a daily basis with our federal partners, including Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, and our congressional delegation, including Congressman LaHood's office and Senator Durbin's office, the governor's office at the state level, as well as our IML leadership and our peer municipalities across our region and state. We'd like to also remind folks in the small business community that are having some difficulties during this time. In addition to the meeting that we had, the public hearing we had prior to the convening of this meeting, to discuss the downstate small business stabilization program, I'd like to remind all of those in the small business community that there are a myriad of federal and state programs and resources available to you, and we're willing to help in the best way we can to avail you of the information that you need. You should be checking the city's website for that information. The Office of Community Development is here during normal business hours to help walk concerned business owners through those programs. the Executive Director of the Macomb Area Economic Development Corporation, as well as the Executive Director of the Macomb Area Chamber of Commerce, are also lending a hand in those efforts. And it does not necessarily mean that you have to be a member of either one of those organizations to reach out to their websites or them looking for the contact information to avail yourselves of those programs. We would encourage everyone in our small business community to be doing that. I am concerned at the amount of traffic that still exists on our city streets, in spite of the fact that the governor has issued an extension of the stay-at-home order through the end of this month. And some of my concerns are shared with other members of the city administration, as well as a number of community members in general. It's at the point where all sources, including the president, the governor, the health department here locally, the hospital, are all on the same page. And it is critically important for our community members to adhere to the Centers for Disease Control guidelines and the governor's order regarding the stay-at-home order and limiting your travel to essential trips. The next 2 weeks are going to be critically important to our ability to impact the spread of this virus. And what we do now will actually impact the success and the outcomes some 2 weeks from now. McDonough District Hospital and Health Department are reporting still no confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the state, in the county. I would caution, though, that current CDC information indicates that approximately 25% of the population is walking around capable of transmitting the virus and has no symptoms. People in the community should assume that in spite of the lack of any confirmed cases being reported, that the virus is in the community and should be acting accordingly. I would strongly encourage folks to abide by the governor's order and limit your actions at all times in public, and limit your actions to essential trips. With that, we'll go on with the agenda as published. We'll invite public comments. We set up, as you remember, a special public comments email address, and I believe the clerk has some information to share regarding public comments this evening. Madam Clerk.
You want to do consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda as published. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or do we need a roll call? I forgot. It's been so long I've forgotten already. I apologize, Alderman. We'll need a roll call. The clerk will call the roll, please.
Wayland.
Aye.
Vajezi.
Aye.
A. Carper.
Aye.
Cook.
Aye.
G. Carper. Brown Edwards.
Aye.
Moon.
Aye.
All ayes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Now, if the clerk will read into the record the public comments or comment that we've received.
Dear Mr. Inman, dear members of the Macomb City Council, I live at the Jefferson House. I have called the landlord and the mayor. People here still have overnight visitors and parties in their apartments. Children and grandchildren come visit. Residents go visiting outside our community to the other counties that have the virus. Many here have compromised immune systems. What will it take to stop this? Our office people are no longer in the building, so people come and go as they like. We haven't had a full-time janitor for nearly a year. The floor of the one working elevator is nasty. Even if only temporarily, somebody should be hired to keep the place clean and sanitary. The maintenance people are behind on their work because of roof leaks, people moving out, an elevator being shut down for a year, and their hours now being cut back. On the positive side, hand sanitizers have been made available in the main lobby and at each door entrance. Community room and kitchen has been locked to prevent social gatherings. We have been given a number of handouts with information about the virus and safety measures to take. Management has returned phone calls, but rightly say they cannot enforce the laws. The mayor confirmed the fact that management cannot enforce the law. So what can be done? If one person in this building gets the virus, it will spread like wildfire. I thank you in advance, believing you will all brainstorm and come up with some possible workable ideas to prevent an outbreak in this building and community. Respectfully, Alice Matson.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
No, I do not have any.
All righty, thank you. For the record, we have sent our the community development rental inspector to the property to discuss the brainstorming possibilities with the staff and management at that location. There is no other public comment tonight. We'll move on to unfinished business. Item number 1, consideration of an ordinance authorizing the sale of certain personal property, including equipment and vehicles owned by the city of Macomb. This will be second reading.
Thank you. As was stated, this is an ordinance authorizing the sale of certain personal property. The particular property is listed on exhibit as attached, and pursuant to the laws of the state of Illinois, the city has the ability to,
You got to get closer, I think.
I was closer and it keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
The city has the ability to dispose of this particular property when it has deemed that this material is no longer beneficial, needed, or necessary to maintain.
All right, that'll stand as second reading, and the important thing is that there's been no new items attributed to that list since it was originally given to you several weeks ago. We'd entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Motion to authorize the sale of certain personal property owned by the city of Macomb.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Jesse, second by Alderman Cook to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Vajezzi,
Aye.
A. Carper,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
G. Carper,
Aye.
Brown Edwards,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Wayland,
Aye.
all ayes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 2, consideration to award the bid for the Northwest Water Main Project Phase 2 to Lavadier Construction Company in the amount of $744,973. We have the city's Public Works Director on a remote line with us. Ms. Ortman, could you go over where we're at here on this project, please?
Certainly. As we talked about previously, the bids came in higher than anticipated for the Northwest Water Main Phase 2 project. Lavadier Construction was the low bidder at $744,973. The original estimate was $500,000. We were able to get an extension of the bid. Originally, we'd gotten a 30-day extension, which would have taken us out to April 19th. We've now requested an additional 30-day extension, which will take us out to May 18th, and Lavadier has given us that. What we are trying to do is work with DCEO to do a scope modification to get our costs down to closer to $500,000, which is the grant amount. We're looking at removing Orchard and Stadium Drives from the scope, and that gets us down to approximately $525,000. Lavadier has agreed in writing that if we sign the contract, they will approve a change order to remove those 2 streets from the scope and keep the unit prices in their bid the same.
And didn't they also add that they would like to modify the completion date as well?
That's true. Thank you. In addition, they wanted us to assure them that we would be able to work with the project completion date so that they don't have a shorter time to finish the project because we delayed the signing of the contract. So the plan is to, if it's approved by council tonight, not actually sign the contract until we hear back from DCEO approving our change of scope. Because if we sign the contract and DCEO does not approve our change of scope, then the city would be on the hook for the full $744,000.
Okay, thank you, Alice. With that in mind, I'd like to open it up for discussion after, if we could get a motion to award the bid contingent on DCEO approval for an amended scope.
I would make a motion to accept it, but put the limit at what was the, Alice, 500 and some $1,000 was what you anticipated getting it down to?
We anticipate getting it down to $525,000, but we do have to sign.
We have to sign the contract as bid.
Yes.
Not crazy about that.
But we're not gonna sign it until we have, an approved change of scope from DCEO.
Okay.
So Alderman Moon, just checking, is your motion to award the bid contingent on DCEO approval of amended
Well,
scope?
Since it was kind of convoluted, I'll just withdraw my motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to consider the award for the Northwest Water Main Phase 2 with a low bid from Lavender Construction for $744,973 on the contingency that we get it lowered to 5, whatever it was.
525.
Follow that?
I think so.
Yes.
So is everyone on the call or remotely, any question regarding the motion? If not, we'd entertain a second.
Second.
Alderman Vajezi. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any questions from the council? All righty, hearing none, roll call, please.
A. Carper,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
G. Carper,
Aye.
Brown Edwards,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Wayland,
Aye.
Vajezi,
Aye.
all ayes.
Motion carried, thank you. And there is no other unfinished business this evening. Under new business, item number 1, consideration of a resolution to temporarily suspend City of Macomb Municipal Code sections pertaining to electronic attendance of meetings. Copy of the resolution is attached, and we'd entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
We need it read.
I'll have the clerk or the city attorney read it in the record, please.
The resolution, as was stated, is temporarily suspending the sections that pertain to the requirements for electronic attendance of meetings. And with that, again, it provides for the ability to attend electronically as we are this evening.
All righty. Entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Moon, seconded by A. Carper to approve. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Cook,
Aye.
G. Carper,
Aye.
Brown Edwards,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Wayland,
Aye.
Vajezi,
Aye.
A. Carper,
Aye.
all ayes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item number 2, consideration of a resolution to temporarily authorize the mayor of the city of Macomb to make unilateral decisions in response to COVID-19 conditions for the safety and preservation of the city. If the city attorney would read the resolution to the record, please.
Thank you. This resolution also is a temporary provision in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This particular resolution will allow the mayor or the mayor in their capacity to make decisions unilaterally that may be necessary as time may be of the essence regarding responses that may be necessary for the COVID-19 action and response. This particular resolution, while it will become effective immediately, will again be temporary and will be effective through July 1st, 2020, unless there is action again by this body. But with that, it will also require that the mayor or those acting in the position of mayor with authority will, as soon as is practicable, have these actions before the council for discussion and action if applicable.
Would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Move to approve the resolution to authorize the mayor temporarily to make unilateral decisions in response to COVID-19 conditions for the safety and preservation of the city.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
G. Carper,
Aye.
Brown Edwards,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Wayland,
Aye.
Vajezi,
Aye.
A. Carper,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
all ayes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 3, consideration to approve the appointment of Alderman Gail Carper as successor mayor pro tem. We provided you with information regarding the contingency and succession planning for the continuity of city government, and with the possibility of the pandemic creating a situation where myself as the mayor would be incapacitated, the possibility that the mayor pro tem who is appointed, Alderman Moon may be incapacitated, and the fact that the possibility existed that there'd be such an incapacitation that the possibility exists there would be no way of convening a quorum of the city council. And with that in mind, we'd ask for your concurrence in appointing Alderman Gail Carper as the successor mayor pro tem to myself and Alderman Moon.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the appointment. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Brown Edwards,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Wayland,
Aye.
Vajezi,
Aye.
A. Carper,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
G. Carper,
Aye.
all ayes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 4, consideration to approve zoning maps A and B for the city of Macomb. There's a memorandum in your packet from the Community Development Coordinator regarding this, and John's here to provide some explanation, and I think we have some graphics we can share with you as well.
Should I speak that way? At the end of March, Illinois state statute requires each municipality updates its zoning map to reflect changes such as annexations, rezonings, and special use permits. With the help of the city clerk and legal offices, is able to identify all of those changes. And then with WIU's GIS Center, we verified and entered those revisions into GIS. We printed out those maps, and those are available here in the office. And I'd like to go over a few of the changes that we've made, and if there are any questions, would be happy to answer them. And we would like a motion to accept the completed zoning maps. There were annexations of a parcel at 1300 East University Drive. That's the business known as Midwest Grain and Forage. There are rezones of 121, 123, 133 West Jackson Street, 501 West Calhoun, 1524 South Candy Lane, 505, 511, 517 North Randolph. And if there are any questions, again, I'd be happy to go over those at the end. Special use at 833 North Lafayette, and variances at 524 East Calhoun and 515 East Piper. Those are all reflected on the zoning maps that you see in front of you here, as well as the online version of the map.
Any questions for John regarding zoning maps A and B? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve the zoning maps, both A and B, as presented.
Motion to approve zoning map A and B for the city of Macomb.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the zoning maps as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Moon,
Aye.
Wayland,
Aye.
Bajesi,
Aye.
A. Carper,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
G. Carper,
Aye.
Brown Edwards,
Aye.
all ayes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 5, consideration of an ordinance to amend the city fee schedule that would include increasing debt service fees for water and increasing water rate, and also an increase in the solid waste collection fees for the next fiscal year. This will be first reading.
Thank you. As was stated, this ordinance is an amendment to the city fee schedule as contained in Chapter 24. More specifically, this would be an amendment to 24-3 subsection G of the water section, the water rates. This would add a $3 per meter debt service to $8, and the rate per 100 cubic feet to $5.04 under section 24-1, subsection A. The residential solid waste would be increased to $20.26.
From 1926, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, that'll stand as first reading. We'll have that on for consideration of additional discussion next Monday at the Committee of the Whole meeting. Item number 6, consideration of an ordinance to adopt a city budget for the city of Macomb, McDonough County for fiscal year commencing May 1st, 2020 and ending April 30th, 2021.
As was stated, this ordinance is the adoption of a budget for the city of Macomb. The fiscal year upcoming, as was stated again, being May 1st, 2020, ending April 30th, 2021, as is pursuant to the state of Illinois and the municipal code of the city of Macomb. The budget is prepared by the budget officer, and we'll have an ordinance for first reading, discussion, and second reading, as well as a public hearing that will be held, and publication or viewability of the proposed budget in its entirety for the public. This particular budget does carry an aggregate amount budgeted in the amount of $30,044,503.
Thank you. That'll stand as first reading. We'll have that on, again, as was related for discussion and a public hearing at next Monday night's Committee of the Whole meeting. There is no other new business this evening. For committee reports, we'd like to start that off with the Community Development Coordinator, Mr. Bannon, if you'd give us an update on the complete count census, please.
Thank you, Mayor Inman. I would just like to go over a few numbers. The state of Illinois has an average self-response rate, and by that we mean people who've already responded via internet or phone, of 49.8%. Macomb's at about 42.4%. So well, I'd like to thank everyone who has already filled out the census. Would like to encourage everyone who has not to please help fill that out. We have tracks ranging from 54% to 20%. So everywhere in the city there are more people who could fill it out, and that does have massive benefits across the entire community. You can go to 2020census.gov, or you can call 844-330-2020. Fill out the census. 9 questions, very quick. We're also going to be doing a census challenge on social media in the next week, and so we'd encourage everyone to participate. Again, encourage your fellow Macomb residents to help fill out the census. It's 10 minutes, and it'll mean a lot over the next 10 years. Thank you.
Thanks, John. What were the percentages again, both statewide and here? I'm sorry.
The state of Illinois has a 49.8% self-response rate right now, and Macomb has a 42.4% self-response rate right now. And all of the university communities are slightly down across the state, so Macomb is doing all right, but we really could use everyone self-responding.
So those folks that are abiding by the stay-at-home order should have an opportunity to participate and get that taken care of, we'd hope.
And the number one way to avoid a enumerator coming to your home is to self-respond.
There you go. Very good point. Thank you. Any other committee reports this evening from the alderman? Already hearing no other committee reports. Aldermanic reports. Alderman Moon.
I'll just take this opportunity to say that I can hear the alderman pretty good, but you guys from City Hall, it's terrible.
Okay, we'll work on that.
We need to.
Okay. Alderman Brown Edwards.
Would encourage all other residents to take the stay-in-place order seriously. There is a lot of traffic in town. I'm hoping that will pare down here in the next week or two. And I also would encourage residents to go to the McDonough County Health Department site to learn how to make masks and donate to those to vulnerable people in need.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Alderman Carper.
Just wanted to thank the mayor and all of the city employees for doing such really good work on coordination with the county, with the hospital, with Western, and doing their essential jobs during this rather unusual and unsettling time.
Thank you. Alderman Cook.
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Alderman Annette Carper.
I just would like to echo what Alderman Gail Carper said. Thank you very much to the city, and also thank you very much to those other folks that are out there working, our first responders, and those at the hospital. It may not have hit us yet, but I fear it's coming, and I appreciate you all.
Thank you. Alderman Vajezi.
Just doubling down on what both Alderman Carper and Alderman Carper said. Thank you to the city and the mayor specifically for being very transparent with all the residents, putting out your videos about what the city is doing, what to expect, and especially make sure that we're staying in place to take care of our first responders.
Very good. Thanks, John. And Alderman Whalen.
No report.
Thank you. Ms. Petrie.
I have nothing to add, Your Honor.
All righty. Ms. Falk.
I don't have anything.
Thank you. Mr. City Administrator.
No report, Your Honor.
All right, thanks. Council, I would ask for your concurrence in a couple of reappointments. First of all, I'd like to reappoint Laura Leeser to the Macomb Planning Commission and Mr. Doug Rossio to the Equal Opportunity and Fair Housing Commission. Those are both reappointments.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded to reappoint Ms. Leeser and Mr. Rossio. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Appreciate your concurrence there. I would like to call an executive session to consider information relative to the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of an employee of the public body or legal counsel for the public body pursuant to Section 2C1 of the Open Meetings Act.
Make a motion to go to executive session.
Second.
Moved and seconded to go into executive session. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Wayland.
Aye.
Vajezi.
Aye.
A. Carper.
Aye.
Cook.
Aye.
G. Carper.
Aye.
Brown Edwards.
Aye.
Moon.
Aye.
All ayes.
Motion carried. For those folks watching live on YouTube and for the folks that will be watching this pre-recorded, there will be nothing coming out of tonight's executive session. We are going to terminate the YouTube video because of the confidential nature of the discussion in executive session, but I will tell those folks that are from the media that are watching and listening that we will abide by the information we sent out earlier this week, indicating we take the next 20 minutes, so till approximately 6:20 for media asks or interviews with the alderman. They will all stay on line with us, and you should be utilizing the call-in number that was provided to the media for making those requests. Thank you.